Hello Exiles, and this is Fusion Gaming, and welcome to my next video on my League content guide series. Now today's video we are going to be delving into 3.1, which is the video that you can see in the background. This is the reveal video for it, back from December 2017. In this expansion, the Elder was announced and added to the game, but as well as the Elder, there was obviously the new League challenge, which was the Abyss League, which is what we're going to be discussing today. Now, whilst I appreciate nearly everybody has probably been playing Abyss this league, everybody has been doing some form of Stygian Spire content, and it's been the juiciest content for Magic Find characters. I'd like to just kind of go through it and basically how to add it if you weren't aware how to do it, and if you wanted a bit more of a breakdown on how to do it and other ways and methods on how to add Abyss into your maps. Obviously this expansion was quite a big expansion, as you can see in the background here. There was a lot of new maps that was added. There was the Elder that was added, there was the Elder Guardians, as you can see. There was Abyss that was added, that was the challenge league for this league. So this was quite a big content, and it was the War of the Atlas expansion it was called. It was quite a fun, I would say it was quite a fun expansion from what I've heard. There's a few people that I've spoke to in regards to this expansion, and they said it was quite fun, quite challenging in the return of a new pinnacle boss being the Elder. I wasn't in this part of the league because I had only started in the next league, which we're going to be discussing. But as you can see there, Abyss League is the new challenge league, and there was a ton of new items, ton of new gems that were added into the game, new bosses, new Guardian bosses. So yeah, it was quite a fun league. So today we're going to be discussing everything to do with Abyss and how to get it, Stygian Spires, Abyssal Depths, everything related to Abyss. Before we get into the content though, if you are enjoying this guide series, throw us a subscribe, throw us a like, and tell us what you think in the comments. So the next question you're probably thinking is, what is Abyss? So basically, Abyss are cracks, or abysses, sorry, are cracks and pits in the earth that spawn monsters when you approach them. Now they can be recognized on the actual, in the game, in the map. As you can see in the top right corner here, there was like a little green circle. Now I'm going to zoom in just so you can kind of see that. Now obviously that is an abyss. Now it does not trigger unless you step over the top of it. So you have to literally step on top of it, and it will then trigger. And what it will then do, I'm just going to explain before I do it, it will then open up a series of fissures and cracks through the ground, and monsters will crawl out of them, and it will start to path in any direction that it wants to path, and then it will eventually stop and it will open up a pit, like a hole in the ground, where usually anything from 1 to 3 rare monsters and a bunch of other monsters will all come out of the pit at the end. And then once you've defeated those monsters, there is then a chance for that to then carry on. So then the pit will then close, and it may then tunnel off again in a different direction, and it may then open up another pit a bit further down in the map, and you may then get some further loot further down in the map, and it may keep doing this, and it can do it up to 4 times. Now there is a better chance of you doing it if you spec into it, which I am going to discuss in a second, but let's just activate this just so you can see it. So I'm going to step over it. As you can see there, you see it's tunneling off on the distance, and I'm going to zoom out, and you can see all this little path on the floor here, and then it's opened this hole in the ground here. Can you see this hole here? So I'm just going to kill all these here, and then it's then funneled off again. So you see the crack in the floor here, so we follow the crack, follow it, and then we get to another pit, and we do kill all the monsters that come out of the pit again, and it's funneled off again. So we follow the crack again, and then again you then kill all the monsters, and then at this point you then have a chance that it will then give you an Abyssal Trove. So an Abyssal Trove is basically just an Abyss chest, and 9 times out of 10 you will usually get a jewel from this, which will be a Abyss jewel, which is like a Ghastly Eye jewel, a Whispering Eye jewel. There's many different types of jewels that you can then get from this. It can also, when it gets to this point, it may not give you a chest, it may actually open up a doorway downstairs to an area called the Abyssal Depths. Now in the Abyssal Depths you will then fight a lich. I can't remember his name. I think it's Amanamumu. I can never say his name properly, but he will then have a multiple phase fight where you have to go into doors, you have to kill the spires, and then go back into the main arena, and you have to do that like 4 times. And then when you kill him, he then has a chance to drop an abyssal socketed item. So he will usually always drop you a Stygian Spires belt. He can also drop some other items like a unique jewel, a unique body armor, some unique boots that have abyss jewels in them, which you can then socket jewels into. There are other times where this will also turn into a Stygian Spire, which obviously a lot of people have been playing this league, and with the Stygian Spire you usually have to take it down to a particular health, so you usually take it down to around about 25% life, and then you then stop, and what it will then do is it will then spawn all of the monsters in pits and circles around the spire, and then at that point, once they've spawned all of the spires, you can then kill all of the monsters and get all of your rewards and kill the spire itself. And obviously people have been maximizing that this league by rolling monsters fire 2 additional projectiles, because the Stygian Spire will then run and fire an additional 2 projectiles into the ground, which means that they will then get more monsters coming out of the ground, so you will then get more loot. Hello! So the next question you're probably asking is, how do I get Abyss into my map? So there are a couple of options. First option that you can do is you can obviously do the usual trick, which is using scarabs. So we have an Abyss scarab, a polished and a gilded and a winged here. Now as you can see, as we go up they do get incrementally a bit better. So the first one obviously only provides you with an Abyss, the second one obviously provides you with increased monsters, the third one does the same, but it also then provides you that abysses in areas that do not lead to an abyssal depths will lead to a Stygian Spire, and then the final one will provide you with 2 additional abysses rather than the 1. So that is obviously the first bonus that you can get from running scarabs. So as well as running scarabs, you can also put it on the map device. So it is actually on the map device, and you can actually get it this league. So there is actually a cost there of 2 chaos. I think to actually get it this league you do have to go spec into 7th gate, because I had to spec into it, but it's a case of that it gives you a bonus abyss, and I think it gives you one additional abyss, which obviously for the price of 2 chaos you're easily going to make your money back from that. Now as well as using the map device and as well as using scarabs, you can also put sextants on. So as you can see here on my screen, you can actually get the sextant, which does provide you with an additional abyss. Now if you wanted to go for the extra abyss, there is actually, you can run the 16 use elevated one, which will then provide you with an additional 2 abysses. So that is obviously going to benefit you and get more abysses within your map in total. Now moving on to the Atlas tree, there is quite a few nodes on the Atlas tree. Now depending on what you're actually wanting to achieve in terms of running Abyss, so it's whether you want to be running Abyssal Depths or whether you want to be running more pits or whether you want to be running more spires, you basically need to decide how you want to spec into the tree, because some of it will be slightly different, and obviously it's a case of the, depending on which way you want to farm, you would obviously change your pathing obviously. So the first one down here that you would get, which is right near the beginning of your Atlas tree, is one which does provide you with increased chance to contain an abyss per pack size. So if you boost the pack size on your maps, then there's a more chance that you will then see an abyss. Then obviously going from there, going upwards, you then have 3 in a bit of a diagonal line going here. Now the first one on the right here has an increased chance for your maps to drop an abyss scarab. Now personally, it's not really that big of a deal, that one. I don't think I've ever seen anybody spec into that, but this one is quite a big one. So depending on which way you're wanting to go, so if you're wanting to go for Abyssal Depths or whether you're wanting to go for Stygian Spires will depend on which way you go on this. So obviously on the right here, this one is for the Abyssal Depths, and on the left is for the Stygian Spires. So it's a case of depending on which way you want to do it, and all the little small nodes obviously give you a little bit of an increased chance to lead to a Stygian Spire. The one on the left here then provides you with an increased chance for Abyssal Spires to drop a rare item with an Abyssal socket, so that means you'll have a better chance of getting a Stygian Vise, and on the other side it provides you with increased experience and more increased monsters, which we always want more monsters. Now if you was harvesting jewels, there is a 5 to 6 mod Abyss jewel that you can get, which we're going to come on to that in a second, but there is a node here which you can pick up which does have the chance for them to be corrupted, 20% chance from Stygian Spires for them to have 5 or 6 random modifiers. Now some of those duels are pretty OP and they are pretty strong. And the final one that you need to do is up here. Now this one is quite a big one, but it is quite a good one. Every single one of these nodes will give you a 4% chance to contain an abyss, and then after the first one it then provides 3% chance to spawn 100% increased monsters, and they have a 100% chance to spawn the cracks, and the pits are 3% chance to spawn double monsters. And you can literally double this if you ran Wandering Path. Now if you ran Wandering Path, obviously you are not going to make the most of these big nodes here. Now the first one obviously has increased monsters for each pit. The second one increases that it will, if it does not lead to a depth, that it will lead to at least 3 pits. The last one is for 4 pits, and the one in the middle has a 5% to spawn all monsters as magic. Now if you was to run Wandering Path on this, then you would obviously pick all up the small ones, which would obviously increase the chance for having additional rare monsters, and you would have additional rares, which is what everyone has been kind of manipulating this league, and that is what people have been using this league to try and get the most out of Abysses and try and get as much money out of it as possible. Now if you like doing Abyss and you want to make it a little bit harder and you want to throw in some beyond monsters just for the sake of it, there is actually a memory that you can do that's called Nico's Memory of Chasms. Now as you can see there just above me, it says it right here, areas contain abysses, but the abysses have already been opened and the abysses contain monsters from the beyond realm. So what happens is when you walk into any of the maps, all of the maps that you will do will have like a red tinge. Now if anyone remembers Scourge League, the maps kind of look like you have just been teleported to the Scourge. All of the abysses are already opened, but none of the monsters are there, and as soon as you walk over to the actual pathing on the floor, all the monsters and beyond monsters will literally just completely spawn out of the abyss and just overwhelm you. If you are not prepared for that map, then you can get easily overwhelmed very, very quickly. However, that map does have a very high drop chance for those 5 and 6 modded corrupted duels. So it is a very good, if you are needing some for your build and you want some, then you can run this memory, and this memory is relatively cheap. For the sake of some of those duels, this memory is only 20 to 30C roughly. Early in the league it is usually a little bit cheaper, but obviously as it gets to late league the prices do always go up, and obviously this is inflation league, so obviously it is going to have a bit of an impact on it. But this is a very good map to run for 6 modded duels. Finally, I just want to mention this because someone mentioned it in a previous video for the Harbinger video, is that there is a Kirac mod that you can get, and it is very, very rare, so don't expect it very often, but you can buy maps from Kirac. So if you go and speak to him, there is a chance that he can then sell you a map that will have an area contains an additional abyss, areas have 50% increased monsters, area contains 2 additional abysses. So these are potentials, but again, it is very, very rare. And if this has been taken out of the game, then by all means let me know, but I'm on PoEDB right now. It's on the Kirac enchant page, and obviously there's this section that's right here. There's also added here, area contains an ultimatum, so I'm going to assume that this is live and it is up to date, but this is very, very rare, I would say, so don't count on this. It's just a bonus. And that is basically it, guys. There isn't really much else you can do to try and get Abyss in your maps. If you don't know who I am, obviously, and you're new to the channel, go check out my channel. As you can see here, there's a bunch of videos that I've done. I've done most of the league content from 1.1, which is down here, which was strongboxes. We've gone through Beyond. We've gone through Tormented Spirits. We've discussed essences. We've gone through Breach. We did Harbinger yesterday. Today, obviously, we've done Abyss, and we're going to be doing every single piece of content over the next couple of leagues, but there is quite a few other good videos on there. If you want any build guides that I've done this league, so I did an Arikali's Fang build guide, I did a Penance brand, I did a Frostblink of Wintry Blast, which was like it was like Flicker Strike on crack. It was ridiculously fun. And if you're unsure about what software to use as well within your game, as in like what third-party tools should you be using, there is a video here which talks about all the third-party tools and which ones are the best. And there is a new bulk tool which I would recommend here, which is this new awesome bulk tool, which is Wealthy Exile. Check that video out. Until the next video, guys, stay sane.